accomplish, right? It's managing its state. All you can do is ask it to do it, but it will do it when it deems that it's necessary. And so that's what it means to set state. You cannot, it's not a promise either. So you can't put a dot then on it. Once the state is set, go do this, right? And actually the way to manage that is by putting life cycle events on the component itself. Because once the state is set and the state actually updates, there are certain things that will happen in a component for React that we can then hook into. So I think we have a component I think there's a component will update state lifecycle event. But do you understand what it means for the state to be asynchronous?
I think so. So the React.js itself, when it is taking care of the set state part, it's naturally asynchronous. It's not something that we can control.
Pretty much, and that's why they call it asynchronous. Is that we are not updating the state. We are asking React to update the state for us, and it will do it at the right time. And so that's why it's asynchronous. Okay.
Got it. Thank you.
Anything else before we head on in? Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do the easy one. Okay, we're going to do the repair one. I like that one. I think it's the easy one. Okay, so we're going to extract that module, extract that or refactor that. Or there's a lot of different terms that you'll hear when you're like taking code from somewhere and making it its own function or its own component. Okay, we're going to create a new file. And the file is going to be, since we're making a single repair, right? That is what we want to do. We want to create a component that really represents a single repair. Okay. This here is a repair list, and it's not that bad, right? This isn't that bad, but we can make it better. Why do 5 lines when we can do 1 line? Not only that, but we want to be able to create that something maybe reusable. Maybe we have a repair somewhere else that we can then reuse this little component, okay? That's the idea. Whether or not we actually are reusing it is not the important part. The important part is we could reuse it. And again, it makes it easier for us to reason about the program. Okay. So we're gonna say repair.js. And how would you be able to identify this? In this class, I'll pretty much say, here are the components you'll need. In the real life, you should probably look at this and say, almost any time that you're doing a map, or almost any time you're putting something together, a large piece of code together that you can give a name to it, like this big header with the form in it. That's probably a component. Okay, it's not always easy, but you'll also be able to identify this by moving from one page to the next. If you have a multi-page app, which we will be building tomorrow's Wednesday, Thursday, we will be introducing a new plugin that allows us to create multiple pages. And you'll notice that some of the things like a header or a footer doesn't go from page to page with you, or there's certain elements that don't travel from page to page with you, those naturally become components. So it's actually not that hard to tell, okay? And it's just something that will come with practice. It is not a definitive thing. It's not a science, okay? It's an art. So it's sometimes really hard to say. If these features are present, it's a component. That's not how we do it. So we're going to, again, yeah.
I was kind of having this problem, but I was separating these components. Let's say for the repair one, I was wondering should I do that with start with the LI or UI or the entire section?
You can do the whole thing. Sometimes they do, since we're doing the repair, think of it as though we want to represent a single repair. So just the LI, right?
Okay.
Because we will continue to loop over the state here. But we will be passing individual repairs to the repair component. There may be a component, sometimes you'll see a component called a repair list component, right? In that case, it would look something like this. You would have a repair list component to which you pass all the repairs, right?
Mm-hmm.
This .state.repairs. And then within repair list, you also have another component called the repair component. And so you're breaking it down twice. You're breaking it down further to become a repair list. And inside that manages the repairs. That's pretty common. That's a pretty common approach that you'll also see. So you're actually taking this section and you're breaking it into two pieces. You're breaking it into this outer piece, the list, and then you're also breaking it down into this inner piece, the single repair.
Okay, nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the wraps in our HTML.
Course. Yeah, it's kind of like a wrapper. Yeah, and then what this does is now you have a repair list that you can use anywhere, right? You can put this block, this whole repair block anywhere you want. And it depends, right? A lot of it depends. And sometimes you'll make a decision and then you'll be like, oh, that was the wrong one. Okay, got to backtrack, right? Not every time we make a decision and we move forward are we stuck there, which is the beautiful part about programming. We can go back. We can undo things very easily. Okay, so for this one, we're just going to do the repair. So I already created the file repair, okay, which means I'm also going to need to import that file into here because this is where I'm going to use it, right? I need to import it only into the other files, or into the files that I want to use it in. And so because I want to use it in here, I'm going to say import repair. It doesn't have an export yet. Nothing exists, but it doesn't really matter what order you do these in. There's a lot of things that aren't working right now, right? So we got to fix all these things that aren't working from repair. Okay, so we've imported that. Okay, I like to copy this. So we're gonna just cut this actually, that big chunk, the LI. Okay, we're gonna cut that big chunk. We're gonna bring it over here to repair. I'm just gonna paste that in. We're gonna have to do some updates to this. It's by no means ready to just drop in here and just start working, okay? So the first thing I'd like to do is I like to make the shell of these components, which includes their import. So we'll have to import React because everything needs React imported from React. I'm not going to create individual CSS files. Okay, as I mentioned before, it might be something that you do in the real world. In this class, we won't focus on that. I'm also going to, so I have to make a decision here. Is this a stateful component or a stateless component, right? And from what I can tell at the moment, it's stateless. And the reason I know that is because the state exists up here. All those repairs, they exist up at the parent. And that is extremely common. You will find that the majority of the main state that has the data in it exists at a high level parent somewhere, okay? The way that state typically works in React is we lift up, we push down state to the component that needs it, okay, but we but often we find that we need to lift it up fairly high. And so it's not uncommon for the state of something to be in the parent or in an ancestor, because we oftentimes will lift up state fairly high in the component. If you think of all these components, parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, right? Again, that tree, think of it like a tree. It's not uncommon for that state to exist up fairly high in the tree. And what it does is it distributes the state down to all the components that need it. Okay, that's probably one of the more common ways to do this. And the reason why is, as you'll see, I need to have access to this state at this stage, at this level, because I have a form up here that wants to add to it. I cannot put my repair state in this repair component, because then this form would not be able to add to it. Okay, so the state can't go up and then down. It doesn't work like that. State only goes one way, down. And so because it only goes down and they can't be transferred from sibling components or from a sibling component up to a parent component, then down to another sibling, right? We have no way to share that state with a sibling. That means it has to go up to the parent. That's essentially the decisions that we have to make. We don't have a way to share state across two siblings, which means siblings would be this repair form that I'm going to create another component for, and this repair. If you were to look at it, it would be a tree, a parent with two siblings. App would be the parent, repair and repair form will be the two siblings. There's no way to share state across each other, with the siblings. So the state then naturally has to go up to the parent. Okay, so having said all that, this will not have state. This component, this repair component, will not have state, because the state will exist at the parent instead of within this repair component itself, which means this can be a functional component. Function repair. We are going to accept props though. And we're going to return some JSX, which is going to be this. But again, like I said, we're going to have to make a couple changes here. Okay, and I need to export default as well. I'm going to put that right up here. You could do that as well, right in line. So it's nice and clean. So this is a stateless functional component. Now, obviously, we need a repair here, right? Because we're printing out the repair task. We're printing out the repair ID as the key. And we have a little on click to remove the repair, and we're passing in the repair object itself. Okay, problem is we don't have anything coming into props yet, because we're not even properly using this new component. So let's add, now that we've created a component, we've imported that component, let's start using that component in our JSX. And that's going to go inside this area here, this .state.repairs.map, where we're looping over all the repairs. Okay, so essentially we're going to loop over the repair, and we're going to show the repair component. That's what we want to do. So that's what we're going to print out, the repair component. Now, it needs some information. It needs some props. We need to pass stuff down, right? This is how we get the information from the parent down to the child, okay? And we do that through props, okay? And all we're going to do is we're going to pass that repair, and then we're going to set it equal to repair. Now, this is pretty common, where you have repair, 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 repair. Okay, you're going to see that a lot. Okay, item, 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 cart, 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 cart. repair form, repair form, repair form, repair form. That's just that type of pattern. If you want, you could be more specific. Repair ELE. Okay. Repair ELE. Repair component, but you never see people call them components, like repair component, app component. You never see people call them that. So I probably wouldn't change this one, but if you did want to make an adjustment somewhere, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with this here. Okay. So we're going to start with this. So now we have a repair prop. So it's going to come in as props.repair. That will give us access to that individual object, props.repair. So over here where it says repair task, it's actually going to be props.repair.task. Okay. One of the interesting things about moving this to a component is our key no longer exists on the individual components themselves. Instead, it exists up here at this component declaration. Okay, this is a very common source for errors, is not moving that key up from this LI up to this repair, up to that component itself. Okay, that's kind of a unique thing. Okay, because remember, we're going to end up with multiples of these, right? This is line 54 is mapping. So it's looping over line 55, which means we're going to have many line 55s. So it kind of makes sense that this might be a place that we can put that key. Okay. And then last but not least, we also have this little piece right here, remove repair. Now, that function does not exist over here, remove repair, right? So instead, what we need to do is we need to pass that function down. So we have this remove repair. So we're going to pass that function through props down to the child. So we're going to say remove repair equals this dot remove repair. Okay, and you'll see I don't put any parentheses on it because I don't want to invoke it. I'm just passing the function. And then we receive that function through props. So it's props.remove repair. And again, reminder, this is an anonymous function because I want to pass back an entire object, props.repair. And now we have refactored this component out. So if we come back over here, everything's loaded up, doesn't look any different. We type stuff in and everything's good. Does it work? Does it remove? Click. It sure does. Perfect. So now, much cleaner. Okay, much cleaner. That was the easy one. Any questions on that one?
Not a question. I just wanted to know the remove repair, the function name.
Yep.
That we passed. Could it be on remove repair to set it aside from the actual function?
You can call it anything you want.
Okay. Because
right.
in our previous exercise or in class material, you used on, so I would just want to.
I will switch, but it can be anything you want. Okay, yeah. It can be on remove repair, it can be your name, it can be, there are better names than others, but yeah.
Hey, John.
Yep.
Just a quick question. So when I've been watching React tutorials, I would say, like, I've seen out of React the most, like, different ways of people solving things compared to, like, you know, JavaScript and stuff.
Yeah.
I've seen people, I don't remember the term, but I've seen some people will actually write their state in a separate JS file. and then link the state just to the app.js that way and pass it down?
Okay,
Is there
so
anything for that aside from like being a little more concise, I guess, or organized? I don't know.
okay, so honestly, once you get into like a sliver more advanced React, this whole concept of state is like thrown out the window. And they have state management systems for React. Redux being a big one.
Yeah.
React.
He kind of kept leading into was like, this is going to lead into Redux. So I have another
Yeah.
that kind of thing, but
Yeah, and or React hooks, and because React essentially has like people, and this is old. This is not new, right? Redux is not new. React hooks is fairly new, but it just moves a lot of the data from Redux into hooks. The whole concept is that people have identified that managing state in the way that we're doing it in React is kind of crazy. Right? It's a little bit nonsensical. And so they've created tools to centralize state, essentially. And so in the real world, you would never probably manage state the way we're doing it. It's just that this is how you have to learn, is from the start, because if you don't learn how it manages state naturally, then it's really hard to apply that next layer of, and now here's Redux. And Redux is great because we don't have to manage state in the crazy way that React is asking us to. But yeah, you could put it in a separate file depending on the size of your state. I mean, I probably wouldn't in this case.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Like, is there benefit to it though, or is it mostly just like you said, when it's kind of getting out of hand and it's a very large state?
Yeah, I guess so. If you want to split things up into separate files, you can do that. And if it's really large, for sure. But it's almost to the point where I wouldn't do that. I would just put my data in a separate file and then load that data into my state. That's what I would do. Yeah.
Kind of like almost like an API and then just fetch from it. Like,
yeah, except you're not loading it from an external API. You're just loading it from a local JSON file, which you can do. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Good questions. Anything else? Okay. The other thing that I said that we should do is we should use the component did mount lifecycle event and make an AJAX request out to this repairs endpoint. So I'm just going to right click on this, and we're going to see that I have a bunch of repairs to complete. Okay, and it's JSON. Okay, and it's all ready to be loaded up. All we have to do is go make a fetch out to that API endpoint. Okay. By the way, if anyone's interested, I found this awesome tool, Mock API, it's called, where you can just create a free account. You can do a paid account too, and you can create any sort of endpoint that you want, right? They provide you with an endpoint. You just call it, give it a name. So I have a repairs endpoint, and you can create or insert your own data just by pasting it in. So they have they have the ability to create a randomized data. So if you're looking to build something and you want some randomized data, you can just use this, or you can paste stuff right in here. You can just paste data right in here, just like this. And then you have an actual API endpoint that you can connect with. It's pretty cool. I think we might use it for our final project. I think I might get you to.
Question about it, Don.
Yeah.
If you make an account, like, is it just a generator, or will it actually like house the API information on like their website, and like you can continue to use it?
Yes, both.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, like, I wouldn't trust it very much. This data that's in here, this is not mine. I don't know where this came from.
Yeah.
It's for items. Yeah, so it's different. I don't know. But yeah, you can house data in there. I would say it's really good for sample stuff if you're just trying to test something out. You can also push data to it. So like we've never looked at this, making updates to data from fetch.
I think you kind of mentioned it, right?
I mentioned it.
With the post method. You said that we
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can put data in. Post allows you to put data in. Fetch is a get, you're just getting data. We never looked at post, but you can actually update this data, which is pretty cool. And the nice thing is it's free, super easy, and everyone can just create their own. So mock API, if ever you're interested in using something, I just came across that. And the generator for randomizing stuff is pretty awesome. It generates some pretty awesome data. You can tell it generate random phone number, generate random sentence, generate random. I just generated a random sentence here. So we're going to use that endpoint, okay, and use the component did mount lifecycle event. So the component did mount. Okay. We're going to put this up here in app because we're going to be using it to start by creating a bunch of repairs. So we're going to pull data in and we're going to inject that data into this repairs state, okay, into this repairs array. That once the data gets pulled in and the fetch is completed and parsed and inserted, the component state will automatically update as well as the children, and all those repairs that we pulled in will automatically show up. Okay, so we can do this. We'll go get this URL and we'll say fetch, paste, then rest.json, then JSON, and we'll do this. Now, this is where it's going to differentiate a little bit from the sample I gave you in class. The data that we're pulling in here is more or less perfect, okay? It's got task, okay? It's got created at an extra field, which I think is okay. And it's got a completed field, which I also think is okay. Okay, we can bring all that data in. We don't necessarily need to parse it if we don't want to. If we wanted to do some sort of transform or limitation of only bringing in certain things, for example, only bring in the tasks that are not completed, okay, maybe you would want to do that. Your approach would be a little bit more complicated, right? Much like the approaches that we've used when we're going through the data coming in from other external APIs. We're looking at the data, we're inspecting the data, we're making logical decisions based on that data and determining which pieces we're bringing in, like what actual objects we're bringing in, and which properties from those objects. In this case, I'm just going to bring in the whole thing. I'm not going to be picky, okay? I'm going to take that whole thing, I'm going to take this whole thing, and I'm going to stick it right into the repair state. So I'm going to say this.set state, and we're going to say repairs is JSON. Because this is repairs, right? This is the JSON. It is an array of tasks, an array of repairs. So now we have an array of repairs that we're setting into state. We haven't used this type of set state very much. This is the non-functional set state, right? Where we're just saying, just set this to this value. We're not using the previous state in any way, shape, or form, right? Whatever was in here before, gone. But it's empty to start anyways. So when component mounts, right? It's okay. And if we take this and we refresh this over here, right, we get a bunch of to-dos to start. A bunch of repairs. Any questions on that? Again, we're really getting into the area of my code is going to be different than your code. Your code, like the way that we're choosing to do things, what we're choosing to keep, what we're choosing to throw away, it's all going to differ so much now, right? There's no way two people are coming up with the same thing anymore. Even the names, their approaches, their thought process along the way, right? I bet you a lot of you just kept what I bet you a lot of you iterated through this, went like JSON dot for each, and then only kept the task, the ID, and only kept the task and the ID, and made your own objects out of them. Did something like for each, you built up an array. Repairs equals that.
ID like that.
Yeah, and that's fine too, right? They're both totally okay. Just gonna say repair, boom, boom, one of these, and repairs dot push. See, ID is task dot, oh no, sorry, repair dot ID, and task is repair dot task, and then right at the end, we're going to say repairs is repairs, and we're going to save that and watch. Hey, it's exactly the same thing, right? No different. So you see, we can arrive at the same thing by doing something very different, and that's okay. Now, long run, there is a difference. Long run, I have less data in here than I did with my solution, which might be good or it might be bad, right? It depends. Are you thinking ahead and saying, I'm going to need these things in the future, so I'll keep them. I won't throw them away. Or are you saying, I don't need those things, I'm just going to throw them away because they're pointless, right? So there's a difference there between what we're doing, even though we end up with the same result. Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay. So again, they're both fine. I'm just going to go with the easy one then. Because I like easy things. Okay, so we have our fetch. We're updating our repairs. So we have some default repairs coming in, or some repairs that we need to complete right from the start. We can still add our own. They should probably, I guess it could be added at the end. That's fine. Okay. But if we refresh, these default ones are the only ones that stick around because we're still operating in JavaScript, right? So even though I push these into state, it's only the state for this page while it exists. As soon as I hit refresh, they're gone. Okay. We can look long-term on how to fix that if you're interested. You will figure that out back end anyways. That's like the whole point behind back end. If you really wanted them to stick around, you would have to post them back to this component, to this API endpoint. When we create a new repair, you would have to set state and you would have to post. You'd have to do both. You'd have to update the state and you'd have to post back to this URL. Okay. Finally, let us complete this by doing this form. And this is the interesting and hard part, okay? It's not really that hard once you do it a couple times, okay? It's kind of it messes with your head a little bit because it's going to change things quite a bit. So we're going to move this form, actually this whole H1 and everything. It doesn't matter. We can just do this. Let's just do this form. Okay, we're going to move this form into a repair form component. Okay, so we're going to pretend that component already exists. Repair form. And we're just going to do something like that. Okay, and then we're going to go create this repair form. Yes, remember, uppercase, by the way, in case you have forgotten, uppercase. And we're going to say import React from React. And we're going to bring this form over here. I'm going to paste that. Okay, we don't need this anymore. And big question, is this stateless or stateful?
It has a state.
It does have a state. Why does it have a state?
It's a new form of data.
The reason why it has a state is because it can look after its own form. It does not require the parent to look after its form for it, i.e. it doesn't, so the form itself is fine. It doesn't require the parent to look after its input. Remember, inputs need to be managed through state, right? So we were managing it up here, and we could continue to manage it up here, except we will find that no one else needs access to this. In the other case, so again, how do we decide where state goes? Okay. Well, who needs access to repairs? This repairs array. Who needs access to this repairs array? Both the form does, because the form takes in repair data and creates new repairs, right? So this needs access to that repair array, and this repair itself needs access to that repair array because its job is to display them. So one, the form is creating them, and the repair component is displaying them. And so you have two siblings who both need access to that array, one to add and one to read. So that means the state cannot be in either of them. It has, because they both need access to them, it has to be in the parent, right? And so there's an obvious place for that. Now, when we're talking about this input itself, who needs access to this input? Well, the only component that needs access to this input is this component itself. No one else needs access to it. It can manage its own input. Okay? So it's not uncommon to have multiple components with multiple pieces of state in it. In this course, the only times that I think you're going to be separating state is because of controlled components. So a controlled form, a controlled input, right? We're using the state purely to control the value of this input. That's all the state does. It controls the value of this input. Okay. So we do need state here, which means this cannot be a stateless functional component. We have to have state in here. So it's going to look like this. Class, repair form, extends React.component open. Okay, we're gonna have state equals, it's always an object, and we're just going to have this repair input in there. Okay, oops. Okay. And then we're gonna have our render. Okay, and that's going to return our form. Now, so this looks pretty good. This is broken though, still, because we've got a couple of broken references here. This .create new repair doesn't exist. This .state.repair input doesn't exist. And well, actually that one does, right? This .state.repair input, that exists. The onChange update repair field, that doesn't exist. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go extract that. So we're gonna move that, update repair field. So we're gonna copy this, cut it, and we're pasting it right in here. Because this is the function, the method that we use to control this. So this state, this method, and these two lines are what we use to control this input, right? Line 21 sets the value. Line 22 says when you change, when this input is updated, when someone types into this input, call this update repairs field function, calls the function and updates this state with the new letters, with the new inputs that have been added. Okay, so this, and these two are what we need to control this input. We also need to export default.
Hey, John.
Yeah.
I'm just following along with your example. I'm following along here, and at some point, actually starting back on app.js, it's giving me an error. It says this.state.repairs.map is not a function, and this.state is highlighted in red. If you go on your app.js, it's around line like 50-ish.
Sorry, repair form is not defined. I need to import this. Sorry, let me fix this to see if I get the same thing. I mean, like, I am halfway through here, so like, wouldn't be surprised if things aren't working yet. There's always like this state of it being broken until it's fixed. Okay, so which line are you having problems with?
Go down to like this line 49. On mine, it's giving me an error, and
this.state.repairs.map.
Yeah, this .state for me is highlighted in red now.
You still have this
In my class? Yeah, I still have my state there.
in app, and you're loading it. I'll have to take a look at that after, unfortunately.
Okay, I must have just missed something, but yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
no problem.
Okay. So we have our repair field. It's being managed. Okay. It's being controlled. So we have our state down here. We have our update repair field. Now the big thing, very interesting thing is this on submit. This does not exist over here anymore, right? This exists. Create new repair does not exist down here. It exists up at the parent. And this is where it needs to continue to exist. I cannot cut it and bring it down here because its goal is to add a new repair, but it doesn't have this state, right? It's using this.setState, add repair, but there are no repairs in this state. And there shouldn't be, right? The repairs is being managed at the top here. So instead, what we're going to do is we are going to write our own function. This is a very interesting one. The reason it's interesting is because we have to do two things in here. It's going to be different than the typical way that we do this, which is what we did over here for repair, where we just took this function and we passed it down. And then over here in repair, we just used it. Okay, it's going to be a little bit different than that because there's two things that need to happen when we take the data from this input to create a new repair. One, we need to create the repair, and two, we need to clear this form. Sorry, we need to clear this input. So those two things need to happen, okay? So, which means we need a little bit of a specialized function to do that. So we're going to write our own. And we can still say create new repair. That's totally fine. We can write our own function called create new repair. It's not going to like negatively interact with this create new repair. They're just going to work differently. Okay, so watch. We're going to create new repair. Again, you can call this anything you want. Okay. So we're going to do it like this. Create new repair equals. And we don't need to really, we don't really need to accept anything here. Oh, I guess we need E because we'll need to prevent default, right? We'll need to prevent default on that form. And so we need to say E.prevent default. Stop that form from being submitted, okay? The other thing I said that we need to do in here is we need to make sure that after we're done, we've got some stuff to do over here. Okay, but after we're done, we need to clear this input, which means we need to do this. Right? Clear the input. This set state repair input empty. Right? Now, but before we do that, we have some stuff to do, and that is we need to create a new repair. Now, we don't have access to the state over here, but what we can do is we can call the parents create new repair. So this is not real, this is pseudocode. And we can pass it the information it needs to create that new repair. And that information is available in this input right here inside state. It's available because we haven't yet cleared it. Line 15 clears it, but prior to that, we have it. We have whatever was written in here. Okay. Now, obviously we can't do this. How do we do that? We pass it through props, right? This dot props. Now, this doesn't exist yet because we need to pass it down. Repair form. Create new repair. And there you go. So we're passing it down through props, and we now have access to it. This dot props dot create new repair, and we're providing it. So in this case, we're just using it inside the JSX, but we're not limited to that. Okay, when we pass data or anything in through props, we have access to those props throughout this entire component anywhere. We can use it anywhere. Okay, we're not limited to using it inline in the JSX. We can use it right here on line 13. So go call this, create a new repair, empty out the state, and stop the form from being submitted. Okay, and see, the reason why this is asynchronous, the reason why React wants to manage state is because we're calling set state here, but guess what? This .props.create new repair also calls set state. It's probably going to batch those two together instead of calling it twice really fast and re-rendering everything twice really fast. right? So React is managing that and saying, oh, there's two things that happen really quick. Let's just put those together, batch them up, and let the whole thing reload. Okay. And now it looks no different, right? Nothing looks any different. All we did was did a refactor. And something's broken. So let's take a look.
The props. You didn't declare the props.
I have props, right? This is the class. Let's see. So let's turn this preserve log. Oof. E.prevent default is not a function. On submit, right? So clear this. Clear this. What's going on? Synthetic event, prevent default is not a function.
John, you didn't accept parameters through the function in app.js.
Create new repair, right? This one here. And so, okay, right. So this one no longer needs, okay, thank you. Okay, perfect. Okay. So that's good. Okay. So you're right. I needed to make a couple more changes. So this is correct, e.prevent default. The change I needed to make was that this one over here, this create new repair, it doesn't just work out of the box. I have to make a couple changes to it, right? So I am now passing a string to it. And it was expecting, before we were expecting an event. So that needs to change a little bit. Now we need to accept the repair string. Okay. And we're no longer going to be saying e.prevent default because we don't have access to E anymore, nor did we really need managing that form submission, preventing the default. That can happen here. That doesn't have to happen up here anymore. So all we need is the string. And instead of getting the repair input, we're going to put previous state.repair string. Sorry. We're just say repair string. Okay, we're going to take that string. We're going to set the task to be repair string. The ID is kind of messed up right now. Let's just ignore it. Okay, I don't want to deal with that today. And there we go. That should do it. And this is what I'm getting this because of the ID. Because now I have two things with the ID of 1, because these have IDs already on them. And so there's already something with the ID of 1 and with the ID of 2. Okay. So that's the big, that's the big refactor. And the really unfortunate part of, not the really unfortunate part of all this, but the unfortunate part of all this is we didn't really add any new functionality, right? We kept the existing functionality, but we changed it. But how it's implemented, for better or for worse. It is better. It is better now. Trust me, this is better. Okay. Repair form is now completely separated. Okay, and we've broken down the logic. So this is more complicated than it was before because it didn't even exist before. But this is less complicated. Okay, we've got rid of some state. We got rid of a function or two. Okay, we got rid of some looping stuff. So we can continue. We can make this less complicated. So if there was a level of complexity numbers that we're talking about, let's say we move this one down from a level 8 to a level 6. Okay, so we made this one less complicated, but we also moved these up from a level 0 to a level 2. So we moved that. I would rather have 10 things, 10 components, each with a level 2 or 3 complexity, than one component with a level 10 complexity, right? And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to take that and split it up. So we have a lot of little things that are not very complex instead of having one thing that's really complex, okay? That's not just what we're trying to do. We're trying to do multiple things, but that's one of the things that we're trying to do. Any questions on this? Okay. Then I am going to push this branch, and you will have access to this code. Right here.
I fixed my issue, John.
You probably just forgot something, right?
I forgot the parentheses after resp.json. So the JSON I was trying to update the repairs with was nothing.
Was the actual response, right?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
not JSON.
Not JSON, yeah. Good. All right, so now's a really good time to take a break. We'll take 15 minutes. We'll come back. I'll review your next exercise with you. We're not gonna learn anything new today. We'll just talk. And then I'll give you some time to go build something new. Okay? So come back in 15 minutes. That's, let's say 10 after, okay? The victims of police violence in the Black community. I thought this was very strange. Not strange as in like, I've never seen this happen. I've never seen it on this scale before.
I just feel like
anything like this.
at this point, everybody has to like at least try to appear to be, you know, accountable or involved in it, just because it's gotten to such a scale,
Like,
you know.
You almost have to, like, you're being you have to pick a side, right?
Nickelodeon shut down some broadcasts for like 8 minutes and something seconds in honor
For
of
the-
George Floyd, and like the thing's just blown. Like it's massive.
And then, so I was like, I fired up the news and it said, what does it say in the Canadian news? Police officers shot in Las Vegas and St. Louis as protests continue overnight. Like,
Even PlayStation
Yeah.
canceled her.
PlayStation
What did they do?
event because of it.
PlayStation canceled their presentation for a new PlayStation,
they canceled
and they said
it?
that the war have more important thing to do now.
Yeah, they can't.
Wow. Wow. So if you're unaware of what's going on, you should maybe like turn on the news one time just to
fire right now.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. I don't think as the days wear on, I don't think it's going to get better. I think it's going to get worse over the next couple of days. Yeah,
But the
right. They've been increasing.
are coming out of the woodwork now.
What's that?
Like crazy conspiracy theorists.
Really?
There's ads online that are literally like get paid to be an anarchist, and they're paying people to incite violence and stuff at protests to spark drama for whatever reason. in some heavily populated areas, like let's say like downtown New York and New Jersey, there's just pallets of bricks sitting around downtown. People don't know where they came
It's
from.
like someone just delivered bricks, just like
Just left them on the street
with a big
before the riots, right? And I don't know. The whole situation's kind of I can't even wrap my head around it.
I don't understand why that guy isn't in jail.
Yeah.
Like, why after all of this, how that police officer
Yeah.
still isn't in jail?
I thought he was arrested.
He has been, but
Oh.
the other 3 involved have been suspended without pay. They haven't said anything about them.
I thought they were fired.
Did they fire them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they fired the all 4 of them.
Yeah.
The guy who did it,
Yeah.
he was arrested and charged with 3rd-degree murder and 2nd-degree
Yeah.
manslaughter. I don't know if he's in jail. I would assume he's in jail, or if he's out of jail, he's probably out on bail, right? Like,
I think initially too, before they charged him, they said they actually arrested him
Yeah.
for safety because he was in his place holed up, and he was trying to order food for delivery, and all the protesters outside would stop the delivery and be like, "Do you know who you're delivering to?" And they would just turn around.
yeah,
So he couldn't even get food.
and that's the
Or
thing.
even-
Like, even if he doesn't go to jail, it's going to be a terrible. He's going to have to go into like witness protection.
Police officers aren't
Regardless.
supposed to draw
Regardless.
their firearms unless they intend to kill. So the fact that he pulled his gun at all,
Did he pull his gun?
he shot the guy. Like, he shot the guy. That's why that guy's dead.
Are we talking about someone different?
Yeah, I think so.
Right?
Yeah, George Floyd.
George Floyd.
Choked to
He
death.
was suffocated.
Oh.
Yeah,
I'm
he
thinking
put
of
his,
something else.
Yeah,
yeah, he put his knee on the back of his neck
Really?
and essentially died of
Watch the video, Don?
asphyxiation, like he couldn't breathe. I did.
You
Yeah,
want to know what happened
unfortunately.
too? Actually, I just read. Sorry, I know this is off topic, but they were released like the initial coroner's report,
Yeah.
and they said that's just the worst shit they could have said. They literally said that there's no sign that he passed from asphyxiation or suffocation, and that he had underlying health concerns, and that he may have been intoxicated, and all of this combined was what attributed to his death. But he wasn't actually. It wasn't due to asphyxiation. So the family hired independent report, and they just said right away that it is from asphyxiation. So there's
I saw that there was 2 conflicting reports. It's crazy. Ugh.
but if
I
you watch
think
the
it's
video,
crazy that I
I
thought
think
you were talking about something else. Like, it's that bad that
There's multiple things. There was another shooting that happened somewhere, but like, it is crazy. It is crazy. Be very happy that you live in Winnipeg, in Canada.
like I'm American, and people always ask, like I have dual citizenship, and I've had this question asked before. This is the answer, 100%. This is why I always said I'd love to visit California and go to America. I don't want to live there.
Me
because
too.
of things.
Me too. Me too. I'm very happy to be here. I'm very happy to live in a nice, reasonable environment where it's not too expensive. And yeah, we've got a lot of crappy stuff, but you know, we live in peace and harmony. You know, and that's the best part. Okay, so let's talk about the other news. Assignment for today. Exercise. Okay. Assignment is coming tomorrow. Okay. Assignment's coming tomorrow. You will see some stuff like you did today, like you're going to see today, and like you're going like you saw. So this exercise that you're doing, that you're going to do right now, has some elements that you will see in the next assignment, and the exercise that we just completed has some elements that you will see in the next assignment. Okay, so it's deciding which ones to apply. So the next assignment is, or the next exercise is this, exercise number 6. We are making a super simple, and this, we've done this already, but now we're doing it in React. Okay. Exercise number 6. For this exercise, you will write a small cart application using React. So it looks like this, okay? I just stole some data from the SteelSeries website because it was there. So you have items on the left-hand side here, 8 mice. These are being pulled in via an API endpoint. Okay, so I have your API endpoint right here. Okay, so you're going to pull those in via API endpoint. Okay, and they all have the data that's being displayed, obviously, and we have a little button here, add to cart. When you add to cart, what do you expect to happen? They will show up in your cart. Boop, boop, boop. Okay, they are not grouped together. They are individual items. So you'll see I have 2 Arrival 600 mice. That's $109 each. If I remove this one in the middle, it obviously removes the correct one. Okay, it doesn't remove the last one or the first one that it finds. It removes the one that I clicked on. Okay, and obviously we have this total here. And so we have the ability to add new mice and the ability to remove mice, and the total updates accordingly. And that's it. Okay, so you should have the following components, 4 components this time. Okay, so this is where things get interesting, is I'm going to ask you, here are your 4 components. It's up to you to decide what goes into each component and how things work. Okay, and there's a little twist here because I'm asking you to do something that we've never done, but that you should be able to figure out. And that is, we have a parent, we have a child, and we have a child of the child. We haven't done that yet, right? We've only had a parent and children. So now the child has a child. So this has a grandparent essentially, which is the app. So we have an app component. We have a cart component. So the top level cart component, and the cart component is this thing over here, this whole thing on the right-hand side. This is the cart component. So when you're looking at this, you're saying to yourself, what belongs in the cart component? Pretty much everything on the right-hand side here. Okay, cart has a total. Cart has and that's one of the big things. Cart has a total, right? The cart items don't have totals. They represent individual cart items. Okay. And then an item, singular item, which represents one of these things on the left-hand side here. Okay, so you have 4 components: the app, the cart item, and the item. You can pre-populate your items with this endpoint. You can see a working copy of the app right here, right? Don't go to the code because you won't, where you end up after tomorrow. You should be able to add items to your cart, remove the correct item. Note, if there are no items in your cart, this total text, see, watch, gone. I'm going to link actually to that little piece of how you show conditional stuff in React. I have shown you already conditional rendering, okay? But I want you to see if you can figure it. I've shown you already. If you want to go back and find the spot in the video where I showed it to you in one of the videos, you're more than welcome to, or you can try to figure it out by reading this. I will show you again tomorrow, okay? Conditional rendering, right? Conditional rendering. We're rendering stuff. We're displaying things based on a condition. Do we have items in our cart? Yes. Okay, show the cart total. Do we not have items in our cart? Okay, don't show the cart total. But how do we do that in React? There's a couple ways, but take a look. Now, if you're really interested in taking this further, you can always do things like, I don't know, group these things up, right? So when you have multiple items, you can group them up and show a quantity and allow users to change that quantity. That could be like a drop down, or it could be an input, could be a variety of things. It's up to you. And this is taking it further, okay? I know some of you are looking at this and you're like, oh, I'm gonna finish in half an hour. You can put your own items in. You can store this cart in a cookie, learn about cookies, learn about local storage. Yeah, there's a lot of different things you can do here. Okay? We're really at a place where you're only limited by your imagination. Okay. And finally, this is something I do want you to do this time, because this is something I'll ask for future things. Like for the assignment tomorrow, I will ask for this. I give you a copy of my HTML and CSS, okay, to download. So index.html and CSS. So your job is to extract all of this. Extract. Your job is to chop it up. Right? So if you look at the HTML, you'll see, right, you have all this information in here. Just like before, our job was to take the stuff out and copy it into JavaScript and chop it up and put the pieces where we need to. Your job is going to be the same thing now. Okay, you're going to pull the stuff out here. And I also give you your CSS. You can pretty much just copy and paste this right into your app.css. Okay. So all that CSS stuff. As long as you're using the correct classes and you're structuring things correctly, everything will just work. Any questions?
For the CSS file, there's index CSS and app.css for me when I do the NPX. Can I just do one app? Okay.
You can delete the other one.
It's unnecessary. Okay.
Yeah, or you can just empty it out. You can delete it. You can split it up. You can do whatever you want. Yeah.
I can erase index.css, right?
Well, yeah, but then you're going to run into an error because something is trying to load index.css, like index.js. So then you'll have to remove that line too.
So I should get rid of app.css, not index.
Nope, you'll run into the same error.
That's
right.
true.
Like
what?
They're both. Where are we here? Over here, right? Index.js loads index.css. So if you remove this line, now you can remove index.css. You'll see mine is just empty, but that's fine. Like it's pointless to be empty, so we'll delete it. There. Okay. Now we don't have any problems. But if you can't just delete the file. You have to delete the file and remove the import. Otherwise, you'll get an error. Okay.
Yeah. I was asking some of the code that was previously written in index.css, the first one, not the code one, the body part. Would I need to keep them, like the WebKit and everything? I don't need to keep them. Okay. Okay. That was the question.
Okay, so hopefully this gives you, so again, it's pretty much the same stuff, okay? So this, how you manage your cart is gonna be very interesting, okay? So your cart, right? This is what you're going to have to decide is what does your cart look like? So you should have something in your state called cart. And how do you put items in your cart? Or how do you track the items in your cart? And how about the rest of the items on your page? So those are decisions that you're going to have to make. What does your state look like? Okay, because everyone's stuff can be very different. There is no one right answer. I have my way, and I have a pretty good argument for why my way's pretty good. I'm not saying that's the only way, but it's a way. So take a look at it, give it a shot. Let me know if you have any questions. Okay, we're going to review tomorrow. After we review, we're going to move into the assignment. Tomorrow you will have all, after we review and I give you the assignment, I'll give you the assignment probably around the same time tomorrow, around 10:30. You'll have all day to do the assignment, all evening. And then the next day we'll do a regular class with a smaller amount of content, and then you'll have that day to do the assignment too, and then I'll get you to submit it the next day. Okay. But you will have an exercise as well. So my recommendation is do as much as you can on the assignment tomorrow when I give it to you. But I know I'm getting ahead of myself here. Any questions?
I haven't seen superstate come into play very often. Are we going to do that in assignments, or
superstate?
How does that work? Yeah.
What's superstate?
Like when you set state and then there's super.
Set state and then there's super.
Yeah.
Do you have an example?
The constructor thing, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't have to use that at all.
Okay.
Remember, that's optional. It's just a different way of doing it. Oh. Super props, I believe. You're thinking of. You're thinking of doing, if we had instead of doing state like this, you're thinking of doing it like this.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah. You don't have to do that because it's just not necessary.
Okay.
This is the same thing, and it's easier. Okay. At least in this course. In real life, maybe you will. Depends on what you need. Anything else? Okay. All right. So go to it. Practice. Okay. This is the extra day that we talked about that will give you the extra practice. Let me know. Please ask questions if you have any problems. Okay. Ping me. I'll do my best to lead you. Same with Zach. Zach's sitting around, not doing anything, twiddling his thumbs. Okay. So probably a good idea to ping him too. But we're both around. So let me know if I can help. Okay. All right. That's it for class today. Yay. Have a great afternoon. Good luck. And I will see you tomorrow morning, 8:45, unless I see you sooner. Okay. Bye.
Thank you.